up, everybody? Welcome to the Cats and Bolts, Florida's #1 hockey podcast. It's so good to have you here. 3, 2, 1.
Are we up, Ben?
We are live.
Let her rip, buddy. Go ahead. Tell the world who we are and what we're doing.
Well, hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Ben. We are the Florida's #1 hockey podcast, the Cats and Bolts. We are having an amazing time here. Honestly, this is a great. I'm really excited for this episode just because, we're doing a live show, but we're also have 2 remote guests, so this is going to be a really cool show, and I can't wait for it, Rod. So, without further ado, Rod.
Okay, thank you. But Ben Castro is in Boca Raton. I'm in Canada. And we're pleased to welcome the esteemed voice of the Florida Panthers, Doug Plagens, joins us from Sunrise, Florida, the home of the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. It's a live stream, folks. We've got Doug for a good time, not a long time, so get your questions in now, and I'll read them live on the air. But, Doug, as you know, we've been harassing you for a long time. You said in the off-season we could do it. Doug, do you ever actually get an off-season? I'm starting to think you didn't even get an off-season.
Well, it's a good problem to have here. And first, thanks for having me. And I'm glad we were able to make it work. But it's a good problem to have. There are 30 other teams that would love to have been in the Stanley Cup final. There are 31 other teams that would love to be in the Florida Panthers situation as the Stanley Cup champions. And, there are a lot of folks out there who'd love to have a short summer, which the Panthers have gotten used to here lately. So to answer your question, you do get a little bit of time to enjoy it. You do get some downtime, but before you know it, less than 3 months from now, the Panthers are going to be right in the midst of the NHL preseason. So it shows you just how fast the clock gets ticking over the course of the offseason.
Well, you know what those long summers are like as well, and we'll get into that if we have time here. But I want to ask you, time flies. How many seasons in the broadcast booth for you with the Panthers?
This was year 10 for me with the Panthers. My 17th in pro hockey, my 10th with the Panthers. So a decade of Doug, if you will, is in the books.
So did you actually think this day would come? Not just one-time Stanley Cup champions, but 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Did you ever think it would happen, Doug Plagens?
Well, you always hope for it. And as this team continued its upward trajectory, you certainly saw that they were capable of accomplishing big things. And tell you what, once they won that first one, the situation they were in, the roster that was going to be coming back, the fact that so many of these key players were not only signed to great long-term contracts, but so many of these key players with the Panthers were right in their prime or just entering their prime, or in the case of some of them, just scratching the surface in terms of what their prime could look like. You felt like this had the look of something that was going to have some long-term staying power. So the Panthers found themselves just going to the Cup final for a 3rd straight year. I mentioned this to a lot of people even before this year's Cup final started. Just going into the Cup final for a 3rd straight year across any of the pro sports, especially leagues that have salary caps, that in and of itself is a massive accomplishment. To win back-to-back, like I said, once we started to see what this team was capable of, they looked like a team that had the ability to rattle off a couple of them. And, well, here they are. They've done that. And I'm sure we're going to get into discussing it a little bit more. But as we look ahead to the future and some of the great business that Bill Zito's been able to do now here in these last few days, this is a team that looks like it's going to be in a contending window for a number of years to come.
Kelly Francis has checked in. She says, nice shirt, Rod. Thank you, Kelly. This came from Brent in Wellington, Florida. He brought it to me, and this Panthers championship hat, 2025 edition. So thank you, Brent. I don't wear hats a lot, but I will be wearing it around here in Canada. Joshua Dorr checks in from, I think he's in Deerfield Beach. He says, what's going on? Let's get some questions, guys, for Doug here. Here's what I really want to know, Doug. How long do you think this run will go? I'm sure you saw the Spit and Chicklin guys say this is going to go on for a long time, it appears, this Panthers run.
Well, I don't think there's, to use the overused phrase, I think the sky's the limit in terms of what this team can accomplish. And I don't think there's any end in sight. You look at, first and foremost, of this current Panthers group, about half a roster of key players signed through at least 2030. So that in and of itself, and these aren't guys that are going to be, getting to the twilight of their careers by the time 2030 rolls around. It's a lot of guys that are going to be right in their prime through and beyond that point in time. So you look up and down the lineup, whether it be Barkov or Kachuk or Reinhart, Gus Forsling, Aaron Ekblad now, Sam Bennett, Seth Jones, of course, who was acquired with a lot of term on his contract, Carter Verhaeghe, you go right down the list, Anton Lundell. These are very important players. Now you've got Brad Marchand, of course, in the mix for a long time to come. These are key players that are all locked in long term for the better part of a half decade or more. So this team's going to be in a contending window for a long time into the future. And the other thing, there are some other factors. And I know these are items that have been big points of discussion as the Panthers have been able to get these long-term contracts done. The culture here is just outstanding. You go into that dressing room, and this is a group of guys that genuinely enjoy being around each other. They enjoy winning. They've developed a ton of experience. They've accrued a ton of experience in a short period of time. It's as battle-tested a group as you're going to find in the National Hockey League. So they've got a winning culture that's already locked in place. Guys want to be here. There's no doubt about that. And to toot his horn once again, the work that Bill Zito's been able to do. Every contract, there's you go up and down the lineup, and there are no bad contracts on this team. Every contract is a good deal for both parties, and that's allowed this team to continue to have that flexibility that it needs as the cap goes up a little bit and as the team continues to have success. Rod, in a league that has a salary cap, the more success you achieve, it almost is designed to become more and more difficult with each passing year. But in the case of this team, they've managed to navigate everything that comes with that and keep this thing rolling full steam ahead.
It works against teams like the Florida. It's designed to work against teams repeating, right? So I don't know how Bill Zito did it. It's absolutely magic. And I won't put you on the spot by asking you that. Adrian writes in from the Rainy Day podcast. He says, "What's up, fellas? Doug, great job on the calls all year. You are appreciated." And I want to say this, Doug, not only one of the top broadcasters in the NHL, I can't think of a better one. You are a broadcaster, a pro's pro, man. And probably what I appreciate the most is you're a great guy. And
I appreciate that. And I appreciate the kind words from all the folks out there, too. It means a lot. It means more than you'll ever know.
Did the Panthers fans, they make you feel loved, right?
Absolutely. And I've mentioned this, even just going back to that first run to the Cup final and obviously not the first one in the team's history, but the first one that I got to be a part of, the run that just fell short against Vegas back in 2023. And to see the way that the buzz even grew that year, and you started to see, the uptick in the number of car flags you'd see out and about, and people wearing the gear, and casual hockey conversations happening around town. And then even beyond that, I mentioned this to a lot of people, but to a lot of the conversations that I've had with a lot of the great fans out there, whether it's people who've been around since the Miami Arena days, back in the day one season ticket holders, for example, to be able to experience those runs alongside Billy Lindsay, who came to the Panthers in the expansion draft, and to be able to have him as not only a friend and a broadcast partner, but to be able to experience those runs through him and see what the logo and the franchise and everything still meant to him after all those years. It just made what was already the thrill of a lifetime even that much more of a thrill. And to now see this team accomplish what it has, winning back-to-back Stanley Cups. My main message that I've said to a lot of folks, in addition to just the simple fact of it means more than anybody will ever know to hear that you listen to the broadcast. If you like the broadcast, I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. But, and as I always say, I just hope everybody enjoys the broadcast as much as we enjoy doing the broadcast. But I hope everybody out there is enjoying this to the fullest, because if you're a sports fan, this is the golden era of Panthers hockey right now. You're in it. There's no, knock on wood, there's really no end in sight, because the Panthers have a lot of key players signed for a long time, but it's very difficult to do what this team has done already. And I just hope everybody out there is enjoying this to the max, because the Panthers have entered some rarefied air, winning back-to-back cups and getting to the Cup final 3 years in a row.
I want to get to those fun questions I told you about in the press box, and I will, but you just brought up the golden era of Panthers hockey. I can't, and you're a positive guy, I'm a positive guy, but you can't enjoy the good without having gone through the bad.
Well, and to see
and
the
you
Bills,
guys did. So I'm just going to say, how bad was it? Because all these fans tell me they were afraid they were going to lose their team, Doug. So what was that like? And where did it switch?
Well, I can tell you first and foremost, I know there were some lean years going back a couple of decades, and I wasn't here. I wasn't here for those, through the 2000s and things like that. But I can tell you this: that from the time I arrived, like I said, this was my 10th season that just went by. So when I arrived, the Viola family owned the team, and I can tell you that all of this is made possible first and foremost by the commitment that the Viola family ownership has had, and the commitment to winning, and the commitment to building success not only on the ice but furthering the Panthers' footprint out in the community. And again, it all starts right there, because the commitment from the Viola family ownership has made so much of this possible, and that's the main reason, the driving force that got this thing rolling. Like I said, over a decade ago, before I got here, and I came in and. One thing that I think has always been something I've enjoyed, and I learned this really early on, but when I arrived, Aaron Ekblad was a second-year player. Alexander Barkov was a third-year player. To see those guys go from, budding star, guy with promise, to becoming star players in the National Hockey League, it's been really special to see the growth of guys like that. And then to see, like I said, the buzz around this team grow in the community. Like I said, it all starts with the commitment of the ownership, but to see it filter down through the culture that Bill Zito has been able to build. Paul Maurice coming in behind the bench, going back to the trade for Matthew Tkachuk and what that meant. And, if you're talking about culture, the first move that Bill Zito made was acquiring Patrick Hornquist. And, what a guy like that has meant to the Panthers franchise on and off the ice since he arrived. Naming a lot of people, but like I said, I've had the opportunity in the decade that I've been here to see growth in a lot of different areas. It's been incredibly exciting, and it's even more exciting to think of where it could all go in the future.
Ben Cobbs has just checked in. Hey, Benny, good to see you, man. If you have a question for Doug Plagens, who we listen to every game, fire it our way. And it goes for everybody that's watching live in the chat. We love these live streams, Doug, as you know. So here's those fun questions. If you weren't broadcasting, and if you weren't a broadcaster, what would you be doing?
It's an interesting question. If I weren't broadcasting, what would I be doing? I would probably spend more time playing my guitar.
Ooh.
Which I don't think I've even picked it up in 2025. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. It just means that I haven't dedicated a ton of time to it. So I don't know. That would be something that would be interesting to me. Folks out there who follow me know that I do really enjoy the quick serve dining establishments. I don't know. Maybe I'd be overseeing a region for one of our for some sort of quick serve dining establishment. I love the food world, so maybe that would be something. Fortunately for me, and Rod, you could probably understand this, as you've been in the business for a long time too, but coming out of school, I kind of put all my eggs in this basket and didn't really think about what, I didn't give a ton of thought to what an alternative would be had things not really worked out. And, so I'm pretty fortunate. And like I say, I'm thankful every day for opportunities that have come up along the way. So, it's something that I always wanted to do. I tell all kids out there who are interested in this world, one of the craziest things, but one of the best things about this industry is that everybody who does it has a different story about how they got to where they are. So there's no set way to get to where you want to be. That, like I said, can be a pretty crazy thing about this industry, but it's one of the best things because you can get to where you want to go through a number of different methods. So. I think there are a couple things out there. I do have certain, some other interests, but fortunately I haven't had to go to a backup plan just yet. Maybe something that I've always thought being a college professor would be pretty cool. So maybe something like that.
I should have prepped you that I was going to ask you, but it doesn't surprise me that you didn't have a plan B because you're a broadcaster all the way. I get it. You also spend some time in the weight room too. I can tell that, but I won't ask you your fitness regime. But I also said I was going to ask you your favorite road barn. Remember that conversation we had?
Yes. And it's tough to name one because I have some qualifiers for them. Best broadcast position is either the Saddle Dome or the Bell Center. I'm hoping, Rod, that at some point in time you have had the privilege of walking across the catwalk at the Saddle Dome, or
Oh, I've
maybe
done
you
it.
made the decision otherwise to walk around the catwalk. Maybe
The
that wasn't
worst.
for you, but I enjoy my walks across the Saddle Dome catwalk. I know the Flames at some point are going to get a new building, but I've always said I'm going to put the SAD in Saddle Dome because I'm going to be sad to see it go when that time comes. I do enjoy the trips there. So those two places, from a broadcast position perspective, I do love the Bell Center and Madison Square Garden for the buzz that you get, the feeling you get just when you walk into those two buildings. There is a certain energy about both of those facilities. If I'm talking about road venues, if we're talking about a place with all the amenities on the road, Little Caesars Arena, one of the newest arenas in the National Hockey League in Detroit, from the broadcast position to the food they have in the media dining room. It is a cool place to go, and I would recommend that to anybody maybe looking for a place to go watch the Panthers play a road game at some point in time. Detroit would be a good place to go. But we're very fortunate at Amerant Bank Arena. We have a beautiful building with all the amenities. It's spacious, and we have a great press box view and everything like that, and everything down to ample parking, easy to get to. Amerant Bank Arena is a great place to call home. I'll tell you that much.
From Bill from the Florida Panthers Den podcast, he says, "This is outstanding. I knew it would be, and Doug knew I would have waited forever to have him on. I knew it would be a great chat." Ben lets us know his adaptive hockey is done for the summer. We are back August 1st. Thank you, Ben. Saying that catwalk in the Saddle, you ever notice there's a hole in it? Did you ever look down, Doug, when you were crossing that thing?
Yep.
How scary is that?
I have one time I was walking across that thing before a game, and I think it didn't fall on the ice; it hit the catwalk. But I dropped like a quarter out of my pocket, and I was thinking, and then I looked down to pick it up, and I'm like, oh geez, that's
You just made me snort, literally. Oh my God!
But
sorry.
But yeah, that was See, I don't worry too much about heights from that kind of perspective. I actually enjoy walking across the catwalk. I think it's become an annual thing that I'll tweet a little video walking across it. But I don't. I know it's not for everybody. I know it's not a favorite of everyone. But I do really like the Saddle Dome booth. And when that place gets rocking, the booth moves a little bit. So you have to be ready for that too. And nothing's happening. It's not falling down, but it does move a little bit when the Saddle Dome gets loud.
Did you ever notice the roof goes up and down a little bit too?
I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, it's when it gets real loud in the playoffs, but they haven't had that for some time. And that's not a shot at them. By the way, Bill says from the Florida Panthers Den podcast, thanks to Doug for the autographed Reinhardt card. My God, I could ask you my questions for the rest of the show, but Stacy, she watches every week, and she says, aside from your Stanley Cup winning calls, Doug, do you have a favorite call you've had in your Panthers career?
So I've been fortunate to have a lot of pretty cool moments. It's tough to pinpoint one, but going back, I mean, these last few years, we're kind of spoiled in a way because we've been gifted a lot of special moments from these guys. And from our perspective, the way these guys have played and what they've been able to do, they've made it easy on us because it's been big moment after big moment. Even going back to the big not overtime, may as well have been when Matthew Tkachuk scored that goal with 5 seconds or so left to send the Panthers on to the Stanley Cup final back in 2023. That goal against Carolina, it ended up completing the sweep. Some of the overtime goals that we've had the ability to see, the Game 7 against the Bruins in 2023. The overtime goals, the big performances going back, and something else that I absolutely can't leave off the table would be the games, some of the moments that we saw Jaromir Jagr have as a Panther. That was early in my time here, but between Jaromir Jagr and Roberto Luongo at that point in time, it felt like every single night one of them was hitting some crazy milestone or breaking some record, and we had to be prepared for that every night. And you realize you were witnessing history, and you were witnessing, Hall of Fame talent that was still competing at an elite level every single night. So we've been very fortunate as a broadcaster. One thing that never gets old: NHL debuts and first NHL goals, and I just doesn't matter if it's a guy who's a number one pick, hyped up prospect that we've been waiting for anxiously, or a guy who spent years in the minor leagues to get his opportunity, and he comes up and he's a little bit of an under the radar guy. Anytime a guy plays his first game or scores his first NHL goal, to me, that's special. And it's something that I always have myself ultra ready for, because you want to make sure you do that moment justice, because you know how important that moment is to that individual.
JC is watching in Dallas and says, can we take a second to appreciate Dougie's call at the end of the game? Also, Dougie, can you please stop leaving Billy hanging for high fives? LOL. What's the story?
So I'm glad people enjoy them, but our great video team that we have at the Panthers has oftentimes for all the playoff games and for a lot of regular season games too, left a GoPro up in the broadcast booth, and it's given people an opportunity to see what things look like behind the scenes from our vantage point during some of these big moments, big goals, things like that. There were a couple of instances where I was so laser focused on the action that Bill Lindsay went up for the fist bump, and I may have left him hanging there. That doesn't happen very often, but the couple of times it's been caught on camera it's been just that, caught on camera. So there's no hard feelings, I'll tell you that. Generally, I'm ready for them, but there's a time or two where I guess I'm so laser focused on the action that unfortunately, but we always make up for it. We always make up for the fist bump down the road. It just doesn't always get on the clip.
Bill from the Florida Panthers Den podcast has asked the question that I had written down as my fifth. What's it like working with Bill Lindsay?
It's outstanding. And I'll tell you this, he's a great broadcaster, a total professional. He's become a great friend. And like I said, one of the biggest things for me, and it's been really special on these playoff runs, has been able to witness it through him. He's, like I said, oddly enough, it was 30 years to the date when the Panthers won their first Stanley Cup. It was 30 years to the date from the original expansion draft, which kind of puts it in perspective. Bill Lindsay was taken in the expansion draft by the Panthers back in '93. At that point in time, I don't know if he was thinking that this was basically going to be home for him for the rest of time or not, but he was taken by the Panthers, played most of his NHL career as a Panther, was a fan favorite. He had really the first huge goal in Panthers history that what ultimately ended up being the series clincher in that 1996 series against the Boston Bruins, and helped them punch their ticket past the first round for the first time in team history. And to be able to see what it all still means to him after all these years has just been incredibly special. And to go through those playoff runs, with him on the broadcast, it's been awesome to be a part of. It's, like I said earlier, it's made what was already a huge thrill be even more so a huge thrill. And like I said, we've developed great chemistry, and you could appreciate this from a broadcaster's perspective, Rod. But I think Billy and I did like one period of a preseason game together, and I already felt like I'd been working with Billy for years. Mm-hmm. He was just a total pro, and we adapted to each other that well. And it's been just, like I said, it's been something I'll never forget.
Oh, what I also appreciate is you two's friendship and the way the team loves you both and builds you up and promotes your calls. And it's very positive, because there's a lot of teams that think, oh, it's just lucky. And you hear it, oh, the Panthers are just lucky. They're not just lucky. You've mentioned the culture a few times. Bill Zito is clearly a genius. It's not luck. It actually angers me a little bit. But from the Turns Nako is the name, says, love your radio calls, bud. BW is watching in Edmonton and says, awesome interview. Well, that's because of Doug. I knew that he would be. And by the way, you are a student of history. It matters for people to know guys' history. So I had, tell us about Doug. We only got like 8 minutes left, not even that. But you're from Detroit. You mentioned Little Caesars. That's a hockey town, man. Can you just talk about your upbringing, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I'm from the Detroit area, and hockey becomes a part of your life when you grow up there. It's as soon as you can stand up, they're already talking about putting you on skates, and it's just a part of the fabric of that region of the country. So I grew up with hockey. Some of my earliest memories are Red Wings games on TV, and we were spoiled with some of the great broadcasters that we had there over the years, whether it be really the first voice I ever remember hearing coming through a TV screen was Dave Strader's, when he was doing the play-by-play for the Red Wings back in that era. But obviously Mickey Redmond, who's been there for a long time, and Bruce Martin, and then Ken Kal on radio, and Paul Woods, and a lot of these guys I'm mentioning, I've had a chance to meet and had a chance to become friends in the business with, and it's been a great experience to they were guys that I was able to admire their work when I was younger, and then you meet them and they're just as outstanding of people as they are broadcasters. So, from both ends, grew up playing hockey, loved hockey from an area of the country that is just, has always loved hockey. And then developed a real admiration for how the games are presented, whether it be on TV, on radio, the whole broadcast side of it. And I always tell people, I've had people ask me, how do you go from being being a Red Wings fan when you were a kid to now being full on Florida Panthers like you are? And there are a couple of different things I always tell people. Well, first of all, those great Red Wings teams in the 90s. I was born in 85, so my formative years as a sports fan were throughout the 90s. Those Red Wings teams in the 90s are what made me love the sport. You go down the list, and Steve Yzerman and Sergei Fedorov and Vladimir Konstantinov, whose career was cut short but was an absolute favorite of mine, and Nick Lidstrom and all those guys. They made it really easy to be a hockey fan and to come to love the sport. That being said, when you start working for a team, your level of emotional investment goes beyond anything that you ever felt before. So that's why it's so easy to become, to become full-on Panthers. If I could illustrate it in any way, my first season with the Panthers, we were at Joe Louis Arena, which calling a game at the Joe was a huge thrill for me. But there was my dad, who was a season ticket holder of the Red Wings for more than 2 decades, sitting there with a Panthers t-shirt on because I was broadcasting for the Panthers. So that illustrates that, yes, those Red Wings teams in the 90s were what made me love the sport of hockey. But tell you what, I think there are a lot of folks out there right now, whether it be those of us fortunate enough to work for the team and be around the team every single day, or people who are following this team. I think this current generation of the Florida Panthers is probably making a lot of folks fall in love with the sport, just like those teams in Detroit did for me back in the 90s.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You see the numbers of kids playing hockey in South Florida and the statewide. It's going to be amazing. I know we're running out of time, so I got to ask you about your sports cards obsession. That seems to be your thing.
That's a big downtime thing for me, yeah, when there's opportunity. And, I'm a pretty big, I'm not offended by the term, pretty big nerd about it. So, when I'm killing time, whether it be on the plane, I'm surfing a lot of different sports card websites, or listening to sports card podcast content. I like to go to card shows. It's something that's been on and off throughout my life, something I've just really enjoyed. So I can remember getting my first pack of baseball cards was a pack of 89 tops from the grocery store my grandma gave me when I was 4 years old, because I had said I wanted some baseball cards. The only thing I remember from that specific pack was I didn't get any Tigers. I remember looking through them and saying no Tigers. So I didn't get any Tigers in that pack of 89 tops. And then I remember not too long after that, I was at a 7-Eleven. There were some hockey cards on the counter. This was about 1990. And my dad bought me 2 packs of those, and that was pretty much where the whole thing began. So the thing I love most about it is there's so many different ways to do it. It doesn't matter if you're getting into it with $10 or $10,000. There is a way for everybody out there to collect in a way that they're going to have fun with it and enjoy it. So I think it's a really cool hobby. It's good to see that it has had a good bit of a resurgence here in the last 5-10 years or so, and I hope it just continues into the future. It's something that I know as time's gone on, I've come across a lot of folks out there who've gotten into it, or who had been into it for a long time, and just have continued with it. So it's been a really special thing for me, and I don't plan on stopping that anytime soon.
With that, Maybe the other thing is you'd be running a card shop. Maybe that would be the other thing. But with that, we've hey, I don't feel like you'd say no.
It's
Yeah,
possible at some point. Hey, that's the other thing is you spend enough time in that hobby, you are going to eventually. I know some folks say they don't really sell cards, but you spend enough time in it, you're inevitably going to come across something that you're going to sell because plain and simple, you might get something that does have secondary market value that maybe isn't of a player that you necessarily collect, but maybe you can use it to get the card that you really want that's out there. So yeah, wouldn't that is something that I've dabbled in a little bit of the selling of the cards, but I'm not ashamed to admit that any of the money that I have made selling a baseball card or two has gone right back into the hobby for me. So that's kind of the way I approach it. So I don't know if my card shop would be very profitable because everything I sold would just go back into buying more cards.
all right. We've reached the end of our time. We've literally covered it all. It was worth the wait. Doug, enjoy what you have for a summer, man. We'll see you in the fall.
I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you so much.
The outstanding voice of the Florida Panthers, Doug Plagens. And that is our season finale episode, everybody, of the Cats and Bolts podcast. We'll see you in the fall here from Podcast Junkie Studios. I think we're good. Off we go.